Hey YouTube! Welcome back to my channel, My Spiritual Shenanigans. Today, we have an interesting guest with us. His name is Jim Schmidt. I happened to find him in the weirdest ways, but I'm glad I did because he talks about past lives. It is so cool because he's written a book about it called The Way of Existence. I recently had an opportunity to talk to him in person and understand what his narrative was for the book. Understand what his perspective was after he started experiencing these past lives. He has a twist. There are many twists actually to come in this video, which is why it's 20 minutes long, by the way, but I trust that it will be worth your time. So let's dive into it, and let me just give you a brief understanding of what we'll be talking about. So you'll get to understand what past lives mean to us, him and I, what the myths are around past life regression, some of the basic understandings that you get from it, why you should go for it or why you shouldn't, and some derooting into other topics like spirit guides and life purpose and other meaningful things. So let's go for it. And at the end, I'm going to share a review of his book to help you understand whether you want to connect with him for his book, or to leave him feedback for the video, or to just ask him lots of questions like I did over this conversation. All right, guys, see you there. Hey, Jim, thank you so much for being with us. I'm excited to have a conversation because we're going to talk about past lives. This is exciting to me because I started my journey while reading books from Dr. Brian Weiss and how he encountered one of his patients undergoing regression into a different lifetime. For me, my journey began with my own past life regression. But for you, it's a little bit different because you remembered past lives and then went for your regression. So that's intriguing. Can you share more about how that happened for you?
Well, I'll talk about it briefly. It was about the time I was 24 years old. I had a lot going on in my life at that time, and things were pretty stressful. And all of these memories just started to come back to me. And that process went on for really a couple of years, about 2.5 years. And somewhere near the end of that time, I had heard my friends talking about past life regressions for years. And somewhere near the end of that 2.5 years, I went and got a past life regression done. But when I had it done, the person literally just told me that what I already had remembered was correct.
Oh, wow. And how could they confirm what you went through? Like, do you know how they knew what you were going through was correct?
She was a Native American spiritualist and healer, and she's a gifted psychic, and she normally did past life regressions. And this time, when I came in, we didn't spend much time on that at all. She pretty much just said what you already remember is correct.
So I guess my next question would be, as you were seeing those past lives, you know, did you feel any different, or what was your experience like in the process?
That was a pretty difficult time for me because there were some abilities there before, and to one degree or another, but at that time, they kind of really it's almost like the volume was turned up on all of them all at once, and I couldn't control them. And it was really difficult for me to function at that time. I was getting a lot of information in, and it made it really difficult to function for a couple of years, actually.
It's interesting how you've already laid out a map of what these experiences will be like for readers. And I would love to know how you were compelled into writing the book. What led you to actually putting it on paper?
Well, I originally was going to write one book, and then I realized it would be so big and it would take me so long to write because of the way that I write. I decided to split it into 5 books. It just made more sense, and it's going to be a lot easier to read. And how I came to write the books is during that same past life regression session that we were talking about. Um, she said, at the beginning of the session, what you already remember is correct. And then she went on to talk about how I actually was supposed to be born in the future. And I volunteered to be born at an earlier time so I could go ahead and write books and leave them behind. She was very specific about that I was going to leave them behind for other people who came after me. I didn't know that was actually 25 years ago. And for a long time, I didn't know what to write. And I always had like spirit guides that would talk to me, and they would tell me, don't start writing yet, don't start writing yet. And that went on for a very long time. And it was only about 10 years ago that finally they said, okay, you can start writing now.
I would love to know how you knew there were past lives and it wasn't something that your mind was making up.
Actually, it was when I was 24 until I was about 26 and a half. I got so many of these memories back that they started to connect and make a story. And the funny thing is, the story seemed really strange, but through one way or another, I had come to start reading various spiritual books. And when I would read different things in these different spiritual books from all kinds of religions and traditions and philosophies from all over the world, they would talk about certain things, and I would look at that and say, that makes sense. I have, part of my memories or dreams or whatever you call them, part of my story that I remember being in a place like that and things happening like that. So that's one way. But to me, I still felt like, how do I know any of this is real at all? How do I know I'm not just imagining all of this? So I tried to see if there was a way that I could connect with the universe directly. And I think that, along the way, rather than just remembering a series of events, I remember this life, that life, and this happened and that happened. It's kind of like, what's the point? What have I learned along the way?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things I found was to be able to connect directly to the universe in a physical way, so that you have a direct connection, that you're not wondering, well, is this real or is it not? For various reasons that I will talk about in this book and future books, I call that the way of existence.
Wow.
And it's a way of directly seeing and directly connecting with the universe around you, so that even if, the exact details of what I remember aren't correct, because, we have trouble remembering details of something that happened last week or last month. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I so agree with that. That was one of my key takeaways. When I went for past life regression, what the healer was doing was he was trying to take note of where were you, what year was it, what was your name. And at one point, I remember talking about being some kind of spy. And I had a strange name. And he's like, oh, when you go back home, why don't you try looking up for it? And of course, I didn't find anything. So
Right.
in that moment, I had the choice of whether I want to believe my experience or I try to logically validate it. And like you said, I wanted to feel in flow of what the universe had shown to me instead of trying to nitpick at it. And
Right.
like you try to understand what would I gain from this. Now
Right.
that I know this, how can I, improve my life?
It's interesting. I actually don't remember any name that I had in any past life. I don't remember the names I had at all.
So, from you, Jim, I'd like to understand what would you see as a common myth that holds people back from getting their past life regression done? And also, what would you consider benefits of doing this?
You know, getting a past life regression done should be something that you feel called to do, because I think it's quite serious. It's not something you do just for fun. Um, and I think if there was a myth that I would like to debunk about it, it would be people will kind of get this done, and then they'll kind of connect their whole identity to that. Um, one reason why you're you have another life is kind of to start fresh, and leave a lot of what's behind and move on to something new and continue to grow and change. Um, to me, the only point in getting a past life regression done and remembering the past is to help you move forward. Um, you know, knowing where you came from helps you know what direction you're moving in, and with that, we can move forward in a better way. Um, Not to look back and kind of get real stuck in that, and then say, well, I'm going to continue to live that way. That's who I am. And you try to be that person that you were. You kind of dress like that, or kind of, oh, this life doesn't matter because I'm really just a person from this past life stuck in this life, and stuff like that. You shouldn't do that. You should just kind of take what you can learn from it, and use it to move forward, instead of trying to be stuck in the past.
That's brilliant. So I'm going to take this a little bit off topic, but you talk about spirit guides. So when did you first connect with them, and how did you know they're actually talking to you?
There had always been kind of, I wouldn't say voices, but kind of like I would wonder about things, or, and kind of like just an answer would just I would know the answer. It would kind of pop into my head. And as I got to that point in my life that we talked about, where I was between 24 and 26, then it just became really clear what the answers to questions would be and things like that. And there was one time when I was just laying on my bed, relaxing. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the concept of night terrors or sleep paralysis, where you can't move. So I was laying there, and I didn't really think I was completely asleep. I was just resting in one afternoon in the summer. And I felt like there was something in the room with me, even though I couldn't see anything, and I could actually feel it getting closer to me. And then I felt it touched my arm, and as soon as it touched my arm, I couldn't move at all. And then it said very clearly to me that I had lives in the past, and it told me a few things about them, and that I was in this life now, and there were certain things that they wanted me to do, like write these books. And then as soon as it was done telling me that, it was gone, and I could move again.
Oh, wow. I've been like holding, because I have goosebumps listening to that. Wow.
Yeah, so there were times where, many times where the answers are just kind of clear, but then there were experiences like that where there's no doubt at all. But one thing that helps me speak with spirit guides personally is to unplug. I do know that they say that your brain can solve complicated problems, and make what they call deep connections between things that aren't very obvious, and solve complicated problems. But your brain, the human brain, needs hours of quiet time while you're awake. Sleeping doesn't count. Okay. And in today's world, unfortunately, we don't have that. And it's not just, meditating for hours. I'll do different things, like I'll go work in the yard for a couple hours, or I'll go garden for a couple hours, or I'll go for a long walk, or even cleaning around the house. Just have no music on, no internet, nothing, just if you're doing something, it kind of preoccupies your body and the part of your mind that does those simple things, and it kind of gets them out of the way.
Mhm.
And then your brain can make connections to solve problems, and also it kind of leaves your mind open to hear things like that. So if somebody asked me how they could get in touch with the universe and talk to their spirit guides, I would say unplug, unplug, unplug. Because today, with the internet and our phones and everything, we're constantly being bombarded with all kinds of information and endless videos to watch and music to listen to and shows and movies.
That is such good advice. I remember this happened just today morning. I was doing some rosary bead chanting, and I know for a fact that I don't do it very sincerely. My mind wavers on and off. But every single time I'm chanting on those beads, some kind of advice comes to me. So today morning it was regarding our call. I was like, oh, you know what? I could just use that lamp and set it up in so and so way. And it just worked out, right? So you're so right. In even just a few minutes of unplugging in a very focused way can really start helping you build that connection.
Right.
I don't want to take us away too long from our topic, which was past lives as well, right? So is there any advice that you could give to somebody who's on the path of past life regression or hypnotherapy, just to make it easier for them?
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that one thing that's probably right for almost everyone to do is to learn and to learn how to make decisions and figure things out. And if you remembered who you were and knew exactly what you were supposed to do, then you wouldn't be learning. You'd be missing out on a lot of valuable lessons in this life. Okay. So the first thing is you're not going to figure out exactly what you're supposed to do in this life and who you are and what you're meant to do. A lot of that is up to you in this life to make decisions as you go along. Not everything you're going to remember, if you remember things, is going to be good. Just like this life, there is the good and the bad. And a lot of the time, we don't remember everything from past lives as a way to protect us from trauma and bad things that happened in the past so we can move forward in a productive way again. So if you are going to remember things about past lives and things like that, there may be difficult things as well as good things, and you may get more questions than answers. So you just have to be ready for all of that and not look at it as, well, this is going to be the answer to all my problems and help me figure out who I am, and it's going to lay my path out clear so I know exactly what I'm supposed to do in this life. You're not exactly going to find that.
That's excellent advice, Jim. We could keep you for like as long and keep the conversation rolling. You're giving out really good nuggets here, but I think we should let the audience ask their questions in the comments, and we invite you back if they want more out of you. I'm sure they will. I would love to know where we could connect with you, and maybe if they want to reach out directly, they can.
I have a book. It is done. It's ready. The first edition has been printed. I only printed up 25 copies. When those are gone, I am going to autograph each one of those before I send them out. When those are gone, there will be a second printing. So I have all my books are printed on high quality acid-free paper that should be around long after I'm gone. And my hope is that every time someone gets this book, when they finish it, they will pass it on to someone else who's interested in it. And you can go to my website, which I know you're going to link below.
Yes.
And it is www.twoebooks.com. That stands for the Way of Existence Books.com. And there you can order my book and leave me a comment too.
Awesome. We will be doing that for sure. And I'm going to allow this to move into my closing notes for everybody. So thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you.
For having you here.
Thank you.
All right, so this is my 30-second review of Jim's book. I think it was sci-fi, but I had to keep reminding myself that it's not fiction, it's actually real. these things happen with Jim, and they were expressed beautifully in this book in the form of his narration through a different timeline on a different planet, and he exists with different kind of beings. The dialogue, the powers, the magic of it, the wonder of it, the emotions of it are all so beautiful. I really enjoyed reading his book for many reasons, but the reason I recommend it to you is because it opens up the possibility that there is life beyond Earth, that there are dimensions beyond Earth. For this reason, I really think you should read his book. It's the first part of many more books to come. And on that note, by the way, I have written about some of my own past life experiences, and I'm going to drop a link to that as well below. Just stay tuned with us, ask lots of questions. Let's keep the dialogue running. And I hope that you are curious enough to investigate your past lives, or that if you've already done that, you'd like to share your experiences with us as well. All right, love, light, and awareness. Bye.